If you're looking to learn about the perfect beginner's film, then this video is for you. We are going to be talking all about Kentmere Pan 400, the top tips and tricks and sample photos from the community. Quick one before we get started. If you like film photography and want to see more videos like this one, film reviews, tips and tricks, that kind of thing, then please do make sure you're subscribed to our channel and notifications are turned on. Thank you so much. The Kentmere film brand is owned by Harman Technology, which you'll recognise as the company that also owns the Ilford photo film range, the licence to produce and market all of the Ilford products that we know and love. And they're based up in north of England. Now originally Kentmere was a company that produced and specialised in photographic paper based in the Lake District. It was acquired by Harman in 2007, so it's actually a relatively recent addition to their portfolio. It was only after the Harman acquisition in 2009 that the films were launched. 2 new films under the Kentmere brand for the first time. They were simply called Kentmere 100 and Kentmere 400, and as you can see behind me, the packaging was well, let's charitably describe it as basic or minimalist. I remember when we first set up Analogue Wonderland, these films were voted the worst branded in the entire store. People said that they, hadn't been changed since the 80s. Turns out late 2000s, but there we go. The branding has been updated, as you can see, very snazzy packaging now. The 100 is equally beautiful with more blues than the purples. And the name was also amended slightly from Kentmere 100 and 400 to Kentmere Pan 400 and 100. And as frequent viewers of our film reviews will know, Pan stands for panchromatic, which means that this black and white film sees all colours across the visible light spectrum. Originally, the Kentmere films were exported to the US market only and designed to compete in the student segment of the market. But as the popularity grew, Harman introduced it to more and more markets around the world to grow overall volume and increase its global appeal. However, in each of those markets, it did retain that student tag, that student positioning, and that is retained to today. Now, what does a student film mean? Well, it means it's perfect for beginners. And why is that? First of all, it is cheap. It is always one of the most affordable films in the market. And of course, you could go with the straight cliche and say, well, that's because students don't have much spare cash. And there is partly truth in that. But more fundamentally, the fact that it is slightly cheaper means that students can experiment with it more. So if you're starting out in film photography, whether as a student, a mature student or something else, you can shoot a roll of Kentmere knowing that if you get it totally wrong, if you screw up the loading, the unloading, the exposure, no matter what, you're not going to be wasting 10 or 20 pounds on this roll of film. It's going to be a few quid at most, which is, generally speaking, a very good thing for learning. One of its most popular sizes is in 24 exposures, which is what we have today in the Wonderbox, which again means that you can shoot through a roll relatively fast and then develop it and see and learn from experience. So between project or between ideas or trying things out, you're turning things around pretty fast and getting to know the film and getting to know film photography reasonably quickly. Kentmere 400 is also very flexible, so it can be developed in a range of chemicals and a range of different means. Again, fantastic for learning, fantastic for trying things out. However, do not be fooled by the fact that this is a beginner's film or a student film, that this is not going to be able to produce fantastic images. Of course, it will not give you the dramatic, sharp lines, the really strong contrast of Delta 100, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, or going back a bit further, Rolly Retro 400S. You're not going to get that kind of photo from it, but you will still get beautifully atmospheric. You're going to get good contrast, you're going to get good detail, and you're going to get some images that really, really work, especially because the flexibility also extends to its exposure latitude, so you don't have to worry about getting exposure bob on in order to still get a cracking photo. Now, of course, the grain is going to be much bigger than you're used to in the more professional films. You are not going to get the same level of details. You won't be able to enlarge or print it sort of A2, A1 size and not notice the grain or anything like that. There are obviously chemical compromises in the fact that it is relatively cheap compared to every other black and white film. But the one thing that you see time and time again in the reviews on site is that I tried this out to test a new camera or because I'm getting into film photography and the results really surprised me. Now I'm hooked. It's a great film for trying things out, being creative with the black and white side, maybe doing things you haven't done before. Again, this is another tool in your creative toolkit to produce another type of photo. It is also available in bulk roll, which again will help drive down the cost per photo a lot more. We haven't talked about bulk roll a lot. We should probably do a separate video just on this. Not all films are available in bulk, but Kentmere 400 is. So if you do really love the emulsion and you have access to a bulk loader or buy one on eBay, then you can pick up a bulk roll, 30 meters of gorgeous Kentmere, and getting a lot of photographs out of that for a relatively low price. So we've talked about it being very forgiving, beautiful for creativity, and not too crazily expensive. And in fact, that leads me to probably the challenge I'll give you this week, is to embrace the look that it gives, embrace the attitude of it being a student, a learner's film, and try something out that you've never done on black and white film before. Maybe that's double exposures, triple exposures, maybe that's super long exposures, maybe that's a different type of photography you've always not been quite sure about, never wanted to, risk a roll of Delta or T-Max on. This is your roll of film to have a lot of fun. Again, 24 exposures, so you're not going to be stuck with it in your camera for several months. Think of an idea, try it out, and let's see what happens. Personally, I think this is a good chance for me to revisit deliberate double exposures, triple exposures, probably load it into my LCA, which has a little lever so you can very easily do multiple exposures. I think I'm going to create quite a lot of doubles and triples maybe, see how it copes with that. Please do let me know in the comments below what you're thinking of trying, any project or ideas or subjects you haven't shot before, and then we can all hopefully learn together what this film is capable of. You've seen in the sample photos coming through, really, really fantastic images, so do not be fooled into thinking that cheap and cheerful doesn't mean great quality. For Wonderbox subscribers in particular, I'd love you to let us know what you are planning, what you are thinking. Have you shot with it before? Have you shot with its sibling, Kentmere Pan 100, before? What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping to try out? And also, what are your preconceptions? What do you think this film will give you? And then we can reloop with the results, with the next competition, and see what it actually gave you. And I will leave with one slightly strange thing that happened while I was researching this. So you'll know how when you type things into Google, it comes up with other questions people have asked. Well, when I was typing, I think it was, when was Kentmere founded or something, Google threw out, how do I build a Kentmere 400? Which is a pretty weird question to be asking, and I thought, oh, that's weird, maybe there's I don't know, something to do with construction or a tool that is known as a Kentmere 400, but no, it meant the Kentmere film. So clearly there's a lot of folk asking, how do I build a Kentmere 400? So Harman, watch out, because the homebrew film community is out to try and steal your lunch and build their own Kentmere at home. If that is you, please do let me know how you build a Kentmere, because I'd love to try it myself. Otherwise, you can just buy them and go for it straight away. Thank you very much. That was it for this week. I look forward to seeing what you create.